Hi, this is John of Trish and John's Gardening Channel. Today's April 26th, 2015. And today's the first day that we're able to get up in the garden for the first time this season. The last time we were at the garden was last fall. We last tilled it in the early October time frame. So it's really good to get up here and kind of assess the damage, see what's been going on with the garden over the last 5 months or so. You know, typically you have some little bit of fence damage that needs repair. Our door that you see there on the far shot, that needs some repair, and some other fencing, the lattice work that you see in the picture in a second, again, needs some work. But all in all, I think it looks pretty good, and we're happy with it. And again, the community garden, that's typical of what you're going to see. We're able to leave the fence up year after year, which is really a good thing. We don't have to mess with putting up a new fence every year. So just wanted to give you a quick overview of what the garden looks like here. I'm standing in the northwest corner of the garden. You're looking down on your right there. That fence line is the west fence. The sun rises to the left and sets on the right hand of the shot here. It's almost perfectly north-south, so you're looking directly south in the shot. Let me give you a better view of kind of the overview. Again, this plot is 35 by 25 feet and good size for us. Some people here at the community garden have plots that are triple that, which is quite a lot. If you can handle that, I think with the weeding and watering, I think a plot this size, again, just about 25 feet by 35 feet, is perfect for what Trish and I do. Typically plant herbs and tomatoes and whatnot, a lot of vegetables, so perfect for us. So let me, again, here's an overview. Let me change the shot. I want to show you what we've been doing here as far as planting. We're actually able to plant a little bit of our cold weather crops today. And I wanted to show you a couple of the plants that actually wintered over, some of the perennial herbs that we've got. Okay, so the first plant we want to show you here is our comfrey. It's spelled C-O-M-F-R-E-Y. This is a plant that grows very well here. It's a perennial, grows very well here in New England. As you can see here, it's already starting to come up, even though we've had pretty cold nights. We're down in the 30s, high 30s, low 40s. In the evenings, during the day, it gets up around 50s, maybe 60. Today's in the high 50s. This is a really good plant. I use this plant for compost. This thing grows into a very large bush throughout the summer. You can cut this thing back virtually to the ground, use all of the leaves for composting. You know, I shred them and then I use them as ground cover, and it helps with the compost. And this thing will grow 2 or 3 times, probably 2 to 3 feet high through the summer. That's when we cut it back, again, 3 separate times. So we get a lot of use out of this plant. I've had this plant actually for a very long time. I had it in another garden for maybe 10 years or so, and I just continue to move it to new locations, and it continues to do very well. So we're happy with this plant. I'm excited to see how it does here in the garden for the first full season. Again, I moved it here probably mid-season last year from another garden spot. Okay, the first plant I want to show you is our lavender. This was planted last summer for the first time. This wintered over here, and it took kind of a beating. You can see most of this is going to have to be cut back. But if you look down closely, right at the bottom here, you can see all of these little guys. These are going to come up and they're going to thrive. Since this is the second year, this'll double or triple in size, I'm sure, over the coming summer months. So I'll wait 2 or 3 weeks. I'll cut all this back. I'll clean it up. We should have a nice plant this year. We got a good handful of lavender last fall. We harvested this, so looking forward to the same thing this year and hopefully more. Okay, the next plant I want to show you here is our chives. This was planted in the garden 2 seasons ago, so this will be its 3rd season in our garden. It did really, really well last year. We had all kinds of flowers. It was a beautiful plant, very tall, probably around 2 feet tall last year. I'm expecting the same again this year. We'll see. I'm not sure. It doesn't look all that great right now, but it is early in the season. Again, today's April 26th, so we've got another month before we really start getting some warm days, and I expect and hope that this thing will come back nicely for us, so we'll be giving you updates throughout the year. Okay, the next plant I want to show you here is our oregano. We planted this for the first time last summer, and it's done exceptionally well in our garden. When we put this in the ground, it was probably about the size of my hand, and as you can see, this is probably 4, 5, 6 times the diameter of the plant in just 1 season. So it's wintered over very, very well. We're happy with this plant. We'll be giving you updates throughout the year as far as how this plant does. We may need to cut this one back a little bit. I don't want it to get too intrusive. I don't like to have this plant take over more than 18 square inches or something like that. It's just about there now, so we'll keep an eye on this guy. But again, really happy this guy wintered over the way it did, and we're looking forward to oregano all season long. Okay, so the next plant I want to show you here is our lemon thyme. This plant was planted 2 years ago, so this will be its second full season in the garden. It does quite well. It overwinters very well, which is kind of surprising. It's kind of a delicate plant, but we're happy with this. I'm not going to clean it up until probably more towards the end of May. I like to leave it the way it is. We get some really cold nights here in New England, so I don't want to disrupt the benefit of having the leaves there for some insulation and whatnot. So we're happy about this one. Again, second full season, and we're looking forward to being able to harvest lemon thyme throughout the season. Okay, so the last one I want to show you here is the thyme. This is sister to the lemon thyme that we just showed you. Not doing as well as the lemon thyme, but this will come back nicely. It just needs to be cleaned up, pruned back, fertilized and whatnot, and this will come back very nicely throughout the season. Okay, the last thing I want to talk about today is the plants that we planted today, our cold weather crops. We planted both kale and we planted cilantro. We got the cilantro seeds from Baker Creek Seed Company as a free gift when we ordered our tomatoes. And the kale seeds we just got at a local garden center. So you may be wondering why we have planted the seeds within these blue rings, and also why we put aluminum foil around the perimeter of the rings. Number one, let me talk about the aluminum foil. I found that because we're in a community garden, as you can see here maybe, we got a lot of open land here, a lot of garden space, and what typically happens that I found over the last 3 seasons is that we get a lot of ground rodents, field mice and whatnot, and they love to come into your garden and pick off and top the leafy greens, kale, lettuce, radishes, cilantro, anything like that, Brussels sprouts. They come in and they just decimate your crops as soon as they come up. So what I've found is if you could put these perimeter rings around where you're planting. Now what I did was, this ring was kale, I planted more kale here, more kale there, and that happens to be cilantro. So I planted within the perimeter. It does a couple things. Number one, it protects the plants, small seedlings, from the rodents. At least it seems to help. And it also shows me exactly where to water, so I could water more specifically, in those rings and not have to water an entire area. So it also helps with water conservation. But the aluminum foil, what I found is the rodents, they used to come in. If I put a blue ring here on the ground like this, let's say, let me show you, I found that they actually would come up and climb over this in some cases, and then be able to climb right out. So by putting the aluminum foil around the perimeter of the ring, I found that they don't want to come up under here and mess with this. They, you can see here, and I leave it like this, kind of, in a horizontal fashion, and they don't like that. At least in my experience, I've had a lot of luck with this over the last couple seasons of doing this. So as long as the plants are small, I'm going to go ahead and leave the aluminum foil on there. It helps to deter birds as well, etc. So I've had a lot of luck with that, and it seems to work. So I continue to use that. Now as far as the blue rings, let me come over here. I use a standard bucket that you can get at any home improvement center. This one happens to be blue. They have orange ones, they have white ones. And what I do is I use a utility knife. I cut off the bottom flange here at the bottom of the bucket, and I just go ahead and slowly work my way around with the knife. I'm certainly, if you want to use a skill saw to do that and make it a little bit easier on yourself, you can go ahead and do that. I go ahead and measure up halfway up the bucket, and this works out to be about 7 inches. So each one of these is around 7 inches in height. And I also discard the handle. I just take the handle and discard that. We don't want that. So this bucket will give me 2 areas, and I push these in the ground. You'll see, I won't do it here because the ground hasn't been worked, but I'll take those rings and I'll push them in the ground about 3 inches or so, just about 1/3 the height of the ring, and that gives me a nice way of knowing where the seeds are, and also, like I said, it helps me protect the crops, especially when they're very small, just coming up as seedlings, and it helps to deter a lot of the rodents that want to come in there and have a meal. So that's it for today. Again, we're going to be giving you updates throughout the season as to, we're going to be planting here. We've got it all mapped out, and we're looking forward to this upcoming season. And over the next few weeks, we'll be coming up here working on our fence line, making sure that that is fortified, working on some of our lattice work here for cucumbers and melons that we're going to be growing, and taking care and overseeing our cold weather crop. So that's it for today. If you like this video, please like us on YouTube, share it with your friends, and if you can, subscribe. That would be fantastic. So we'll talk to you soon, and have a really good day. Cheers.